Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, presented by #basketball.com and draft.com. Thanks, draft.com, for sponsoring us. And if you use the promo code BOXES when you sign up for draft.com, you will get a free game and the chance to play directly against me and my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's going on, Tyler?
Not much. I've been debating this question, Mike, and I'll ask it to you. Okay?
Yes, hit me with it.
If you could be any player in the NBA, who would you be?
That's a tough question, I think, because it's like, what do you want? Do you want to be, LeBron with the long, illustrious career where you lost a lot of finals, but you went to a lot of finals? Or do you want to be younger? Do you want to be like a Steph Curry or even younger, Joel Embiid?
But you got to remember, with a lot of those guys, right? Like, you got to do a lot of crazy media stuff and like commercials and be super famous and not be able to go anywhere and not be recognized by everyone.
You could be Elfrid Payton with great hair. You could be Chris Dunn, who can't hit a layup but still starts. You could be Scalabassier, who's going to the G League.
No, see, that's not one you want to be.
That's a tough one. I would go with. I'd like to be like a Westbrook type. Screw everybody. I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'll get triple doubles. I'll be real famous. I'll do weird stuff. I'll wear weird clothes. Do weird commercials. But you know what? You gotta. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. He doesn't really live in Oklahoma City. Everybody knows that. He's got a place there, sure. You're the king of that city, even though it's not really a city. They put city in the name to trick you. Not a city.
I think I'd be Sean Livingston.
Sean Livingston. He could have been great, but now he's just a role player on a championship team. That's all you want?
That's it, man. That's the secret.
Just
blend into the background. You know what I mean? Get those rings. Tell people how good you could have been.
Could be
This is great. Great life, homie.
You could be Jakob Portal.
That's not a real person. Don't lie to me, Michael.
You know what? I want to be Dirk Nowitzki, set for life. Yeah, the guy live in Texas though. I don't know. It's tough, but we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and everyone in the league got injured.
Pretty much.
There's only 7 players left, and they're all Bulls players. They're all terrible. But no, there's been just
on anybody.
I know. I literally can't watch that team. I cannot watch the Bulls. They're terrible.
Oh, come on, Mike. I love watching a Bulls game. You know the outcome before it starts. It's great.
I believe we have. I read a really good article over on the Athletic. Everybody go check that out. It's a cool website, and it was about how Chris Dunn and Jaren Grant are the secret tank weapon. They're one of the worst duos, not just like this year, but in like the history, in the like the modern history of the league. They're like negative 67 or 72 point differential. When they play together, and Hoiberg runs them out at the end of games if the game is close. So I actually think Hoiberg is smarter than he looks. He's tanking on purpose. It's pretty obvious.
You're giving old Freddie way too much credit. Like, Freddie knows what he's doing.
Listen,
these two guys look good together.
If he's taking on purpose and taking on accident, it's the same damn result, and I do not care.
True, but I still think Fred's the worst coach in the NBA, so you're not going to throw that one past me.
No, well, yeah, no, he's still the worst coach in the NBA, even if he knows, even if he is taking on purpose. But speaking of the Bulls, Hoiberg did mention that Zach LaVine would actually, even though he looks like he could be healthy enough to come back in December, probably will not be coming back till January. Then another expert tank move. Are you picking him up in any of your leagues where you can stash him?
I mean, yeah, he's probably worth a stash. You got to figure he comes in and like is the much better version of Justin Holiday, right? Like takes all the shots for the Bulls, and I mean that alone is going to make him valuable. I don't know that Zach LaVine is a great, I mean, like a great franchise piece though. So regardless if he comes back or not, I think the Bulls are still going to be bad.
Yeah, they're still going to lose, hopefully. Justin Holiday, who's been playing really well over the last couple weeks fantasy wise, not in real life where he takes too many shots and is terrible, but fantasy wise, giving you a block of steel, it's pretty nice to get that back, and you might as well run with a hot hand while you can. But so I would pick him up in any standard league right now and just at least ride a hot hand while you can. And I'd also, if Zach LaVine was available, definitely stash him. Even though it's going to be a long 4 or 5 weeks before he gets back.
No doubt about that. And I mean, it always gets dicey stashing those guys in the sense that, I mean, we've seen it over the last week, right? Like everybody gets injured. So unless you have unlimited IR spots, sometimes you got to end up dropping that guy again and picking up somebody else just because you have no one left to play.
Yeah. And if with all these injuries going around, some of these teams are decimated. If you started out in a world where you still have Kawhi Leonard because there's nothing you can do other than hold on to him, and you put Danielle Gallinari on top of him and John Collins, and now Steph Curry might be out. It's gonna be a rough handful of weeks
Well,
out
I
there
mean,
but I would stress everybody, don't panic. It's a long season. There's a lot of weeks left.
yeah, and the good news with a lot of these injuries we're going to talk about is most of them don't sound like they're the ones that are 2 months, right? They sound like they're in the weeks range. And that's always nice to hear in the sense that sometimes we get those ones where it's just over.
Yeah, in a previous episode we did talk about the Millsap injury, so that's probably the most gruesome. I guess not gruesome. I guess Hayward still got that award, but the longest injury, he'll be out for quite a while. On Denver though, Jokic does look like he sprained an ankle and will be out for a couple games. Is there any value there with both those bigs out for a little bit?
Well, I mean, I wish you knew what was going to happen in the sense that Wilson Chandler has been kind of playing the fence on his injury too, right? So it's like they're getting decimated. I wrote about this in my weekly article, though. I think that it's going to give Jamal Murray a few more shots. Gary Harris, Will Barton, your boy, should be taking a few more shots.
He's going to take some shots.
So I think that's really where the value lies, not so much in the big men that are going to play. Obviously, Mason Plumlee is going to play a little more probably, and we've seen Mason Plumlee in Portland be real good, right?
That's who I was kind of thinking of, and he did get the last two starts, even though they got smoked by Dallas for some reason, and Plumlee only played about 19 minutes tonight. But Mason Plumlee is one of those guys who last year, if you remember, on Portland was incredibly good 9-cat fantasy because of the high amount of assists that Mason Plumlee was able to get you. And I still think, if you're seeing Jokic out, Mason Plumlee probably not worth owning, but worth streaming with both Millsap and Jokic, sitting out a few games.
Oh yeah, definitely, and he is definitely a huge asset in the assist category for a big man. He averaged 4 assists last year for Portland, and I think he could do something close to that with Denver this year, just because they're going to play him in kind of that Jokic role, and we know how Jokic is a big assist man himself.
Yeah, honestly, if you go to the waiver wire and you're looking for assists for your week, he'd probably be in my top 3 in a standard league. It's kind of crazy to think someone who plays center could be in your top 3 assist guys, but if he's going to play 30 minutes, he'll probably get 5 to 7 assists.
And they keep saying middle to end of this road trip, Jokic is going to be back. So the middle of the road trip would be on Sunday. They play in Indiana, and then they'll play on Wednesday in Boston for the last game of the road trip. So you got probably about a week, maybe a little bit less, to capitalize on Mason Plumlee's value.
Yeah, everybody get out there, and if you're need some assists, then, look in that direction. Let's see who else. Let's go with the big names. Let's just start at the top of the list. Um, Steph Curry. Ooh, Steph Curry took a really, really nasty spill on his ankle there. MRI came back negative. He's going to be back. If I'm Golden State, who quite frankly does not need to worry about much during the regular season, I'm going to take my time with Steph Curry coming back. So he might be out, I don't know, for the rest of the month. But, he's going to be Steph Curry when he gets back. There's nothing to worry about there.
It was the one injury you didn't want to see for Steph Curry, though, the ankle. I mean, we know this has
the
been
same ankle as a handful of years ago. And so they might be a little bit more careful with it. But I believe Golden State when they say, hey, everything came back negative. And I believe that Curry will come back when he is healthy, and that will be that.
Yeah, it's just a swelling issue. From all accounts right now, he's definitely out for the next 2 weeks. Like you're saying, I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss 3 or 4. They don't really need to win a lot of games here. So it's just gonna have to saddle up and deal with it. I think Kevin Durant could go crazy.
Yeah,
he can stop getting ejected.
Yeah, if he could stop trying to beat up DeMarcus Cousins. By the way, just here's a pro tip: never try to fight DeMarcus Cousins. Just ever. I don't know if you've seen the Myers Leonard clip, where Myers Leonard gave him a hard foul, but Myers Leonard was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry." That's the correct response when you accidentally hit Boogie Cousins. Apologize profusely. He's a crazy man, and he is enormous person. And I'm with you. Kevin Durant could have himself a nice little go, but I'm actually looking at Klay Thompson here. I think this might be a good time to sell high on Klay Thompson if over the next couple weeks he ends up, taking a bunch of the scoring load and playing at a lot higher pace and, getting a lot more touches. Try to swing him for a higher ranked player.
I always feel like Klay Thompson is one of the underrated guys in fantasy anyway, so I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm with you. If he does play out of his mind, maybe you can do it.
Yeah.
Just his great efficiency in the shooting categories, the percentages plus the 20 points always makes Klay Thompson a little bit underrated, I think.
Yes, I would agree with you. I don't think Klay Thompson gets enough credit for basically what he can bring to a roto league or a 9-cat league, especially when you're living in a world where you need elite threes, and he can provide that to you every single night. I actually want to talk about someone who else on this squad, at least on this game, not on the Warriors, but on the Pelicans. What do you think about your boy Rajon Rondo coming out of the woodwork? We poured one out for him. We thought he was done, and here he is, starting, getting some good minutes, getting a lot of assists.
Well, I mean, we knew the assists were going to come. I mean, he's really not getting as many minutes as I thought. I thought he'd play over 30. He's only played over 30 in one game. He's been very Rondo, if you ask me. About 10 points, about 10 assists, some decent rebounds, some decent steals, no blocks. He's actually hit a couple 3-pointers in the last few games. I don't expect that to stick. I think he's going to be a Rondo, just a 28-minute version of Rondo instead of a big 32-minute version.
Yeah, I mean, he's still scraping the double digits in assists in those limited minutes, and probably a little bit of that is the absence of Anthony Davis, who is another injury that we, of course, have to talk about. Now, Anthony Davis is just, sitting out random games because he's broke something here, strained something there, pulled something here. And this is just another one of those injuries. He should be back pretty soon.
He hurt his groin. I would think he maybe misses another couple games at the most, and he's probably back. They say he's practicing. He just doesn't quite look like he's ready for full go yet. So I would best in the next week he'll be back.
I completely agree. Hey, you know what you're getting when you draft Anthony Davis and when you have him on your team. This is going to happen all year. He's just going to miss a handful of games just because. You just got to deal with it. Let's go up to the other. It's one of the other big names. Blake Griffin. Poor Blake Griffin. You know what? I feel bad for Blake Griffin. I know he punched some dude in the face. I know
I
there's
just want
probably
to
no
know
reason to feel bad for him, but
if you're ready to admit that I was right.
I'm never ready to admit that you were right.
But I was right. Gonna miss 2 months with an injury. When you kept telling me, "Oh, Point Blake was gonna be right up there in the top 25," and blah blah blah.
Sadly, Blake was continuing to get better as the season went on,
But you
and
knew this was coming.
He was playing great.
But
He
you
was hitting a
knew
lot
this
of.
was coming. You knew it was coming.
Okay, you were right. It happened. But Blake Griffin was on the way to playing at a much higher pace, and was going to rank better than his average draft position. I think a lot of people were out, and I said, "Hey, everybody, you should be in." And barring the injury, he was headed in the right direction.
I mean, honestly, he was actually playing a little bit worse than last season. I mean, most of the numbers were very similar, except for he was averaging 2 more points a game, but he was doing it on much worse from the field, only shooting 42%. So
yeah, if you care about your percentages, then yes, that is definitely going to hurt you. But his assists were a little bit up, and he was hitting 2 threes a game instead of less than one, and that helps.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm not surprised by this injury, obviously.
Yes,
and
no one should be surprised.
And I mean, I think this is just what happens when you buy Blake Griffin. Now, it was a bad one this year, right? Sometimes he only misses, 15 or 20 games, and this year he's going to miss 2 months. So, I mean, probably like 25 to 30 games at least. You knew what you were buying.
Yeah, you knew what you were in for here. This team now, Danielle is still out.
He's supposed to be back though.
He should be back soon, and I think a lot of people who owned him are really, really out on him. And him and Milos Teodosic both coming back maybe in the next couple weeks. Those both, I would say, are pickups here because this team is decimated. You got Austin Rivers playing a ton of minutes, and you got Lou Williams carrying the offensive load. And that's it. That's all that's going to be happening here. So I do think Austin Rivers and Lou Williams' values get bumped up quite a bit. I am never, nor will I ever be a Wesley Johnson fan. So I don't know. Do you recommend picking up Wesley Johnson if he's available?
Gallo comes back. He's going to.
Yeah, Gallo is going to eat into those minutes.
The other one at the 3. But, I mean, I think we've seen what happens even when Wesley Johnson has a good run of games. It's that he floats back to nothingness for fantasy. So I expect that to happen in the near future.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, like I said, Wesley Johnson, not a fan. Never going to be a fan. Doesn't do much for me. I actually think Teodosic will probably play some decent minutes. I don't know if it'll be a rotation type of thing with Austin Rivers, Lou Williams, and everybody will kind of just get galvanized, or not galvanized, I guess, but cannibalized. And everybody will play, 20-some minutes a game instead of anyone playing over 35. What's your take on the Teodosic return?
I mean, you got to feel like those 3 are going to eat up a lot of the guard minutes, right? And then they're going to play together, and I think they can all be close to 30 just playing together, and maybe even play Austin Rivers as a small ball 3, and let all 3 of them run together. Tenossus will probably have to ramp up his minutes, so it'll be a slow start for him, I would think. He's missed quite a while. So, he might start out at like 15, 20 minutes a game, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him somewhere in that 26 to 30-minute range along with the other two guys.
Yeah, they're going to have to play Daniela at 4 because, I mean, they just don't have any depth here. And they're, Montrezl Harrell's not going to blow anybody over here. So I do still think Rivers, Lou, Wesley, and Tadosic will all probably be the main minute getters.
I mean, let's face it, right? They have like 5 NBA players left healthy enough to play, right? I mean, like with Blake out, Patrick Beverley out for the season, they don't really have that many guys that you're clamoring for on an NBA roster, especially right now with Tadosic and Gallinari out.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you had a choice between picking up Tadosic and Rondo right now, who would you pick up?
I mean, you got to go for Rondo. I feel like they're both going to be assist-heavy guys, and Rondo's getting like 10 a game right now. Tadosic, he's expected to return in the next couple games, but like I said, he's probably going to start off slow and probably going to be like 2 weeks before he gets going. You could have 40 or 50 assists banked from Rondo by that point.
That is true. Yeah, I'd say in the intermediate here, Rondo, the way he's been playing, you might as well ride a hot hand. Season long though, I might be leaning towards Tadosic. If I couldn't drop either one of them, I had to pick one up right now. We all know that Rondo flights of fancy and will suddenly, I don't know, just fight somebody or send out a weird Instagram or quit on the team and then leave and then come back. And Rondo every once in a while just becomes unrosterable in the NBA, not just in fantasy. And Tadosic, if he stays healthy, could be, pretty decent assist getter for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but if you're banking that Rondo is going to play his way out of New Orleans, like he's played his way out of plenty of cities in the last few years, I could see where you're coming from there.
I think it's a fairly good bet on that. But let's move on to, because we got a lot of injuries to get through here. And another, like I said, we're going to start at the top here. And another major player, Hassan Whiteside, left knee. It's going to be out, 2 to 3 weeks. And this is I think this is an injury that I'm a little concerned about. Well, how do you feel about this injury?
Well, we saw the tweet from Ira, right? Where, he basically, in no uncertain terms, said that this is a serious injury and that Ira Winderman on November 29th, so about a week ago, said, Whiteside says his knee injury is a serious issue, says the Heat medical staff needs to get to the bottom of his ongoing pain. So, this could be one of those ones where it lingers even past the timetable they gave, I think. It's a real scary one for me.
Yeah, I really don't like the way it's ambiguous. I really don't like the way that, they came straight out and said it's serious. Those things last. And if you're a Hassan Whiteside owner, you're screwed. You're basically just going to have to hold on, see what happens, and play it out. I know they've been kind of messing around with the lineup. They even gave Bam Amadeo a start here in one of these games where Hassan Whiteside was sitting out. But I still think the play here, if you're going to add someone on this team, is Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk can produce fantasy value, and he probably will play a lot more, even though it does look like they want to give Bam Amadeo some minutes. Kelly Olynyk will probably play a bulk of the minutes at center.
Adebayo.
Everybody knows who I'm talking about.
Adebayo. Bam Adebayo.
I'm a Badea, though.
Yeah, I've been with you. And the nice thing about Kelly Olynyk is we've seen in the past that he can be a real good per-minute producer. And so if he's going to get like 28 minutes a game, you got to think that's definitely worth a pickup. This Heat team, man, they're starting to get on my list of. I just hate to own any of their guys in the sense that they're always chopping and changing the minutes. And, one night it's Richardson and Dragic are over 30, and then the next night they're playing 22 because Tyler Johnson and Wayne Ellington got hot on the bench. And oh man, it's just a headache to own any of these Heat players.
Yeah, it just seems like just a revolving door there. They do kind of try to keep their starters semi regular, but their minutes aren't, and that is an issue. I would say I do like Josh Richardson. I think they have been leaning on him a lot more than Tyler Johnson. And I think last year Tyler Johnson was like, everybody he was kind of a must own. And this year, I think I'd rather own Josh Richardson. He's consistently playing over 30 minutes. If I had to own one of those guys,
And
still a borderline standard league guy, but I do think he will play better than he has to start the season.
And he's actually at the bottom of the own list, which is crazy to me. I think he's worth it just for the 1.2 steals and 8.7 blocks a game. I mean, those are some big additions off the waiver wire, especially for a guard. If you can get 0.7 blocks, I mean, that's a big add. He's not helping you a ton in some other categories, but you got to hope that he picks it up a little bit. I'd be definitely interested in owning him in a 12-team league.
Potentially a 1-1 type of guy. I surprisingly not owned in a ton of leagues. But
that's because no one reads my article. I've been trying to get people to pick that guy up for weeks, and just no one does it.
That is true, and everybody needs to go out and read this article. Tyler writing the weekly summary for your upcoming week every single Sunday on #basketball.com. I really encourage everybody to go out and check out this article. It is incredibly useful. I know everybody wants to watch premier cable dramas on HBO every Sunday. Just take a moment, go out, check your rosters while you're reading Tyler's article. It's going to help you win. It's going to help you win some weeks. It's already helped me win some weeks. And luckily, Tyler is still behind me, even though he's giving me the advice with this article. He's still behind me in the listener league. But that listener league is tight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to the listeners. They are coming for us hard. It's going to be a fun race.
They are. There are. I'm still in first, but I'm barely clinging on to it. And there are 6 other players, so over half the league, within 8 games of first place. And so there is a little bit of separation between the haves and the have-nots, but still very, very tight between 7th place and first place.
Well, I'm going to take you out here coming up, so I can feel it. My men are. I'm just rallying the troops right now. I'm in 3rd. I'm just rallying the troops.
You've said that every single week, and I cannot hear you all the way down there in 3rd place. I do not know what you're saying.
It's not about who's ahead now, Michael. It's about who wins at the end.
Well, we will see. A lot of and that's what we were saying a little bit earlier. A lot of weeks ahead. Do not get too cocky like I am. Do not get too depressed like some people are who are at the bottom of certain leagues. I think Big Cock Baines is at the bottom of our league. Don't get depressed, Big Cock Baines. You still got a chance. It's gonna be a lot of work. You still got a chance. I'm in a few leagues where I'm doing all right, and I got Kawhi Leonard coming back soon. Let's talk about the return of Kawhi Leonard. Like Kawhi could be back. I know we keep saying this all the time, but really could be back in the next handful, like two weeks or less, according to the reports coming out of San Antonio.
Yeah, it could be as soon as this weekend, which would be a big help for both the Spurs and your fantasy teams if you got Kawhi Leonard. This has been a weird injury the whole time, and we talked about this a lot during the preseason and in the last few weeks even. And it's interesting to see what the plan is as far as when Kawhi comes back, if his minutes are going to be limited for a little bit or not. Supposedly he's been practicing for like the last 2 weeks. So there's a potential he comes right out and plays like 30 minutes a game. should be crazy.
Yeah, he could come in, dick swinging, and that's going to be great for everybody who owns him. But I think the play here is obviously if you own him, you're keeping him. You can't wait for him to get back. But if you don't own him, to intently watch, I mean, just the first game back, let alone the first few games back. And if it looks like Kawhi's struggling, trade for him immediately. There is a ton of season left, and Kawhi Leonard, if he starts out really, really slow, that owner might just have had enough. He's like, I've already lost this many weeks because of I didn't have him. Now he looks like crap. I'm going to panic, and a panic is always a good time to buy low. And that's the play here, I think, with Kawhi. If you don't own him, wait for you got to hope he struggles for those first few games, and maybe try to sneak a trade past the owner of Kawhi.
Yeah, and I mean, we lost the big sell high guy, right? The big sell high was Kyle Anderson, and he had that knee injury just a few days ago. So, if you had him, it was fun. Just cut him.
Yeah, he. I mean, it was kind of great while it lasted for Kyle, but it was only going to last until Kawhi got back, and sadly ended a little too soon. Yeah, I don't know what you can do other than cut Kyle. I don't think he's going to return any real value here. I mean, he's not going to miss more than a month or so.
But you got to figure he goes down to playing like 20 minutes a game when he comes back, and there's just value in that in a standard league.
Well, you might want to just, shop him around. A lot of people might not put two and two together, and even though he is injured, it's only he'll only be out for a little under a month, and if you can get something of really any value for Kyle Anderson, it'd be worth it if you think someone's going to pick him up off the waiver wires, or if you see a team that's kind of desperate for any talent whatsoever, just try to sneak away something from their team that they recently picked up off the waiver wires. That's a Tyler move.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times what happens too is you drop somebody and if someone picks them up, or you can get the player they had and then get yourself a nice find too. So, I mean, it's all on how you want to deal it.
Yeah, I was in a shallow league and I dropped Paul Millsap because I just don't care. And he was immediately picked up. So probably a poor choice for me, but I'm doing okay in that league. And I really needed to bring someone else on that team. So probably could have held on to it because it's a roto league, but I'm not too excited for 1 month of I'm trying to get back into playing shape Paul Millsap at the end of the year.
Yeah, too. And I mean, a lot of times if I really want the player and he's hurt and he's say going to miss 3 months like Paul Millsap, a lot of times I'll wait like a month and then try to acquire him from the owner when he gets a little desperate. And then you got a whole month of players, and then you got the guy back. So it's also an option too.
Let's move on to Mike Conley. Still out, still sitting out with this left Achilles, and we've talked about this before. And we're going to have to talk about it again. This is one of those injuries where, if he re-aggravates it, he could be out for another 2 to 3 weeks. And this could legitimately last the rest of the season. And it looks like they pushed back his return.
Yeah, another 1 to 2 weeks still. Yeah. And this is one of those injuries, again, like we talked about a little bit earlier, where don't be surprised next week if they say, oh, he's out another 2 to 3 weeks. Like, it's just one of those injuries that it's so hard to tell when it's healed. And, I mean, the heel and Achilles now they're saying. First it was just Achilles. Now I've heard a lot about the heel being a problem. Yeah, it's not looking good for Mike.
Yeah, that is not a good sign. I really don't know what to play here. Obviously, if you own Mike Conley, there's not much you could do. But would you try to move for Mike Conley? Take a risk here because, granted, he's injured, but like we said, it's a kind of a bad injury. and could linger on, but it could clear up sometime at the second during the second half of the season, and he could start putting up Mike Conley numbers. He is kind of a little bit more durable than I think we always see Mike Conley out, but he does seem to always fight through it or come back at some point. If you can get Mike Conley on the cheap, would you try to move for that?
This is a play I make when I'm down there in the standings in like seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th in the 12 team league. Is you gotta hit a home run somewhere, right? And so maybe you trade low for Mike Conley, especially if you can. You know what I mean? Mike Conley was probably a third or fourth round pick in those kind of leagues, and if you could trade your seventh or eighth or ninth best player and get Mike Conley back, kind of swing for the fences, I think that's the kind of move you make right now, especially if your team's languishing in the standings. And it's not because you had Kawhi Leonard or something. It's because your team's just not that good, or maybe you had Paul Millsap. You've had a lot of these injuries that are going to be, the guy's still going to be out for a couple months. Blake Griffin. I think maybe you take a shot on Mike Conley, try to get yourself back up there.
Yeah, I like that strategy. This is, I mean, what we're about almost about 30% of the way through the season, and your team is what it is, and now is the time to make your adjustments. You should probably already been doing that anyway, but if you haven't been making adjustments and you're still struggling, you got nowhere to go but up. So you got to do something, and this is a time to take some risks. And you're not going to win any league without taking some risks. But if you're in the basement, you're going to have to take bigger ones than other people can afford to take. And this Mike Conley could pan out in the long run if you can convince the owner of Mike Conley that they need to keep those stats up so they can continue to compete if that player, hell, if that owner of Mike Conley is even competing. If you want to reverse that, though, let's say the owner of Mike Conley is in the bottom half. Well, that means they're kind of desperate. And let's say you think Mike Conley might be a good addition for sometime later in the year when he comes back, gets healthy. Also, a good thing to do: move some, kind of mediocre players who might be playing a little hotter than usual, maybe like a Justin Holiday of some sort, and just get rid of some of those guys for a player who is much more reliable and solid when healthy for Mike Conley. That's also a good risk to take. Let's say if you're in the middle of the pack and the owner of Mike Conley happens to be at the bottom of the league, because they're going to be desperate for anyone who could perform if they're at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, totally.
Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. I know this is your favorite team to watch on TV. They're exciting.
They got my boy Dennis Schroeder, man. I enjoy watching a Hawks game. Don't hate.
They play an incredible, breathtaking brand of basketball. And there's definitely not guys taking naps in the front row of their games. Dwayne Dedmon and John Collins, both out, probably for the rest of the month. John Collins might be back a little bit sooner than Dwayne Dedmon. You got Mike Muscala, who's been MIA.
Wait, first off, I want to say this. How about the crap timetable for Dwayne Dedmon in the sense that they say 3 to 6 weeks when he's first injured? Like, come on, now you got to be able to narrow it down a little bit better than that.
Yeah, you would think so. I don't know if that just means this is one of those injuries that could be an unknown, like, oh, this is going to last a while. Good luck, everybody. I don't know. I like the fact that John Collins is coming back sooner, and I'd much rather go after John Collins. I still got a thing for John Collins. I still think John Collins is going to be, very, very good fantasy wise moving forward. And I don't know why Atlanta wouldn't play John Collins a lot more. I know he's still inconsistent, but I like the talent.
I'm with you there. As far as in the meantime, I mean, yeah, Ersan Ilyasova, who has his one stretch every season where he's worth it. I mean, he got 30 minutes, scored 22 points. He got 11 rebounds in another game when he only played 24 minutes. But then he had a 20-minute clunker on Monday when they got blown out by the Nets. I mean, that's a shot player, right? I think, especially, I would probably be looking more of like 12, 14, 16 team leagues, like take a shot. Maybe he's worth something. You got
Yeah.
Miles Plumlee, you got Mike Muscala. Like, there's not a lot of great options here. I got one guy, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I'd rather take my chances on Elias over here, simply because, like you said, he can be standard league relevant. The rest of this team, I mean, I think I'd rather have Mike Muscala than Miles Plumlee because Muscala every once in a while can do something
Is there a
fantasy
player?
wise, but I don't want either one of those guys. I think there's better stuff on the waivers.
Is there a player who plays more than 20 minutes a game that you would rather have Miles Plumlee than? No offense to Miles Plumlee, he might be a great guy, but I mean, he's got to be at the bottom of that list of guys who actually get minutes. Just not
Yeah,
much there.
I mean, Jared Allen.
There you go. How about DeAndre Bembry's last couple games? I mean, getting some steals. He's got a steal in every game of the last 5 games. He's been getting a few more minutes, and that might be a kind of a streamers guy for steals that you could pick up.
Yeah, I mean, I am slightly interested in what's going on there. Steals and blocks coming from him over this little stretch. It is a little surprising, I think, because up until recently he wasn't playing at all, and on this just really terrible team. I don't think he was injured. Am I wrong about that? Was he injured though? I might be misstating.
Yeah, he had a little something.
Yeah, I think he was out with an injury a little
He broke
bit.
his wrist.
Oh yeah, that's right. See, I don't even pay attention one bit to Bimry or the Atlanta Hawks, and I probably should because
Well, you're not the only one because I think Torian Prince probably ends up being like a top somewhere between 80 and 100 on the season. And he's like 25% owned in ESPN leagues.
that's wild to
So
me. Terry Prince is very good, and I've at least paid attention to him, and I'd rather pay. And that's kind of where I think I'm at here is that Terry Prince is the rich man's DeAndre Bembry. DeAndre
um,
Bembry eats the trash outside of the house that Terry Prince lives in.
it's Torian. Torian.
That's a
Okay.
cool. I like his name. It's a cool name.
And yeah, I mean, he's another guy with a good steals and blocks combo, a little bit of assists, some decent rebounds. Definitely should be picked up if he's available in your league and held, even in 10-team leagues. Like I said, I think this guy is somewhere inside the top 100 at the end of the season. So I don't see a league, even in an 8-team league. I think you own that, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's borderline in an 8-team league, simply because in an 8-team league, I feel like you're always dropping someone who's pretty good to stream, but Terry Prince should be one of those guys that you're streaming, 100%.
so I mean, so 25%, even when like on their game days, it always just makes me crazy because it's like this guy's definitely should at least be picked up for this game. Like, how is he not 70% during the days they play? And if you want to drop him, whatever, like if you're in a shallow league, that's fine, but it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on there. If Torian Prince is in your league, pick him up right now, and don't look at DeAndre Bembry because you just picked up a better player. So don't worry about Bembry at all. But yeah, if you're in a deeper league, Bembry is probably someone you should be streaming or picking up. Let's move on to the return of one of the greatest French centers of all time, Rudy Gobert, making his amazing return to the court, and not looking that great.
Yeah, still ramping up though, right? I mean, he's played 2 games in a back-to-back set. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I actually would disagree in the sense that okay, he's not scoring a ton, but I mean, do you buy Rudy Gobert for the scoring? He's got 3 blocks and 2 steals in 2 games and 16 rebounds and 3 assists. That all sounds
yeah.
pretty good to me. Just
You would just like to see him, taking a few more shots here, but yeah, you know what you're getting with Rudy Gobert, and in less than 30 minutes a game, this is him playing his way back into full speed. And I guess if you're
I was actually surprised that he played
looking,
tonight in that second
yeah,
on a
and
back to
on a
back.
back to back, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess he
just
did
stepped
only
up that in.
play.
So I mean, I thought for sure he'd be out.
He only played 21 minutes in that game against Washington, a brutal blowout, and yeah, it's nothing to worry about. Like if I have Rudy Gobert, I don't care. This is fine. Like he's getting back. But if you think you can maybe snag Rudy Gobert, you probably should have done that earlier when he was actually out and injured. But there might be a few panicky owners out there, but I'm not worried. You shouldn't be panicking at all if you own him.
No doubt. And I mean, even if you can trade minimally, buy minimally low, like a third, fourth round player and get Rudy Gobert, it's
Yeah.
an option too.
Speaking of possibly panicking, Devin Booker just went out. Not sure what's going on there. Have you heard any updates on Devin Booker's status?
No, this is pretty fresh, right? This just happened about I don't know about 2 hours ago now,
Yeah,
and it's a groin injury.
carried off the court.
Yeah, which is always scary, right? Um, and we actually just had another one in the last about 20 minutes. Nurkic hurt his ankle,
Ooh,
and that one did not look good either. So those are two that we'll kind of be monitoring and probably give you an update on a little bit later in the week. Booker's is a strained left groin. That's the same injury Anthony Davis had just a few days ago, and he's set to miss here like 4 or 5 games. So Devin Booker could be out like a week. It could be a minor one, and he could be back in the next game. We just really don't know yet. It's a little too soon. As far as this Nurkic injury, I mean, like I said, it's literally like about 25 minutes old. So you'll probably know before we're telling you.
yeah, poor Booker been playing out of his mind. Do watch this. Could be something to consider if the owner is, like I said, if you need to take a risk, and the owner's going to panic. Devin Booker would definitely be someone I would take a risk at right
And
now. I'd be
tonight,
like,
that's
hey,
what I
man,
mean.
maybe he'll be fine. Take the risk. He's a great player.
Tonight is the perfect night, right? People saw him get carried off the court, right? And if you're especially at the bottom of those standings, like I said, and you need somebody, this guy in the last few weeks had been like producing top 20 value. He had been going pretty crazy. The assists are up. He's getting some steals. He's getting some blocks.
He's been
The percentages
producing
have been
top
good.
10 value, man. He's been out of his mind right now. And
Yes.
for the season, he's a top 30 player for sure.
That's what I mean. So now's the time to take a shot.
I'm 100% on you. I would actually, I might actually go out in a few leagues and try to swindle Devin Booker away from a few people. And sadly,
There's an
one of those
idea.
leagues is probably the listener league. So all you listeners in that league, feel free to hit pause before I said, damn, this did not work. Damn it. I need to do like, oh, everyone who's in the league, please hit pause now. Don't listen to the rest of this podcast. Here's what I'm going to do. That's we got to figure that out.
I don't know what you're saying, Mike. You lost me there somewhere.
It's rough. I can't make any moves in this listener league. They all know my shady ways.
Oh man. So we got one more injury, and this one is maybe the most scary one for me of all.
He dropped out.
I didn't say anything. You're supposed to talk.
You said the scary one. This is the scariest one of them all, and then he said nothing.
I know. That's because you were supposed to
I
talk.
don't know who this is.
Tim Hardaway.
Oh,
The only one left. Are you not reading your sheet here?
No, I'm not reading my sheet.
Tim Hardaway Jr. It's the only one left. Leave this in. I think this is a good chat. Let's just leave it in.
Let's leave it. Who cares? So, Tim Hardaway Jr. stress injury. You know how we feel about those.
The dreaded stress injury. And we haven't heard reaction, fracture. I haven't really even heard yet. They say he's out at least 2 weeks. We heard that from Seth Curry at the beginning of the preseason, I think it was.
And
And
where is Seth Curry these days? What do you think he's up to?
I think his leg's hurting him. I think he's just at home going, "Ow, my leg! Ow, my leg!"
That's kind of a shame because Tim Hardaway Jr. was playing fairly well over the last month.
Yeah, and here's the thing I hate about these stress injuries. Okay, the word is Tim Hardaway will be evaluated in 2 weeks. The same thing kept happening with Steph Curry. It's been like 2 months now, and they've already said he's out till December 11th at least. I wouldn't be surprised if Seth Curry misses more time than that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Hardaway misses the next 2 months, the next 3 months, the rest of the season. Even if he comes back, even if either one of these two players come back, I'm going to worry that this thing crops back up at some point during this season. I don't ever feel good about these stress injuries until the next season. Once you have the entire offseason to rest, I maybe feel okay about it. But for the whole season, when one of these pops up, I don't want anything to do with the guys. I would sell Tim Hardaway for 10 cents on the dollar right now.
I would sell him right now. I would try to move him for whatever you can. Maybe try to move him for one of those guys we've said to buy low on. Try to do basically a double switch where you're selling at legitimately the highest point and they're selling at their lowest point, and you're going to get a hell of a deal. But really, Tim Hardaway Jr., who was playing well for Tim Hardaway Jr., this could just probably be the end of his standard league relevant fantasy season after this injury.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish I had something good to say about these injuries, but it's just they're always so scary, and it's always like, oh, 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then before you know it, 3 months have passed, and you're going, man, what happened to Tim Hardaway Jr.? I was looking forward to him playing.
Yeah, it is a little too bad considering the amount of money the Knicks spent on Tim Hardaway Jr. But yeah, sell high.
A sneaky get, okay, could be a guy like Courtney Lee, Torian Prince, some of these guys who aren't owned in a ton of ESPN leagues. Even if someone in the league that you're in owns them, you could make him an offer and say, hey, look, this guy has been playing real well. He should be back in 2 weeks. You got this guy off the waiver wire probably. You know, he's only owned like 25% of leagues. Just wondered if you're interested in taking a shot on somebody. And you could kind of get a nice little fleece deal and get a player who's going to probably finish somewhere in the top 100 for a guy who probably literally won't play for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, it is hard to move someone who's injured. It always is. It's very hard to convince someone, like, why are you trying to move this guy if he's injured? First off, that's always the first, like, what's going on here? You might need to package Tim Hardaway with somebody, right? But throw him at the end of any package you got going on. Like, who cares? Get him out of here.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's one more injury I'll mention, and it's Willie Cauley-Stein.
No,
Okay.
Not Willie Cauley-Stein.
So you want to hear the good part of it or the bad part of it?
Give me the good news first.
They announced he's out for 2 games.
Okay.
The bad news is he is not traveling with the team for those 2 games on a road trip, which makes me think that if you don't travel with the team, you're probably nowhere near playing a basketball game. So that makes me think he's probably out at least a week, which would be 4 games, and he could likely be out longer than that. So we know the Kings are not the most forthcoming organization to begin with, and I would not be surprised if Willie Cauley-Stein missed a lot more than 2 games.
Yeah, he's not practicing with the team. He's not traveling with the team, and it's a back. And a back's another one of those what's going on here type of injuries, because a back could just mean, hey, I pulled something, a little sore, blah blah blah, or this could be, a chronic problem, and not the good kind of chronic that he's been getting from Zach Randolph, but a bad type of chronic, where this is going to linger for far too long and really hinder Willie Cauley-Stein's ability to break out, which I think he was finding a good rhythm coming off that bench and was producing at least pretty close to standard league value.
The
Definitely streaming value.
The crazy thing about it, and I'll tell this brief story here. I'll give you the abridged version of it. So the whole reason he was struggling at the beginning of the season was he made a conscious effort to stop attacking the basket, because he basically said that every time he attacks the basket, he hurts himself. And he was not producing much at all at the beginning of the season because he wasn't attacking the basket. So he started attacking the basket. He started playing really, really well, and then he hurt himself. So this could be one of those kind of catch-22s for Willie Cauley-Stein, I guess.
Yeah, and it would also be, he hurt himself. If this lingers a little bit, might convince him to stop attacking the basket again, which will diminish his play. I just don't think he's ownable in standard leagues. He was borderline ownable right before this, and I don't think you're going to get any too much value out of him. But it's always worth trying. But
and
sell him or drop him.
The thing about the Sacramento rotation is like any given night he could play 15 minutes. It's like Jaeger I swear he just throws darts at the wall and goes, okay, Willie Cauley-Stein, 10 minutes tonight. Oh, Willie Cauley-Stein, 30 minutes tomorrow.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in Sacramento, and I don't think anyone in Sacramento does either.
There's one guy who does, but it turns out he's Dave Jaeger, and he might be crazy.
Yeah, he might be on those bath salts.
I will not accuse him of taking those. That was not me. That was all Mike.
Yep, you can tweet. All your disgruntled Sacramento fans can tweet at me at Watch the Boxes. Feel free to. There's no way Sacramento fans are on board with this. Guys on bath salts.
It's turning out to be a very poor decision as coach, and they just gave him an extension, and I think that's just a very, very poor decision. Yeah. He turned George Hill, who's just coming off a career year, into literally George Hill, who rarely touches the ball in that offense.
Yeah. Brilliant move. I'm sure George Hill is real happy about signing that contract in Sacramento.
He's got to be their best player, doesn't he? I mean,
oh, definitely.
And 100%. And he's like and he's a good shooter. He's a good 3-point shooter, but I mean, literally, there are possessions where he just stands in the corner and doesn't move, just stands there with his hand up.
Yeah, it's really sad because George Hill, can be a very good fantasy player, and just no one on this team is worth owning at this point.
Yeah, I mean, here's the bad part. Very few of them are even worth streaming because you don't really even know how many minutes a night they're going to get. I mean, if you needed 12 points, you could stream Zach Randolph, but what else is he going to give you? 4 or 5 rebounds and 12 points. Willie Cauley-Stein, if you need a block and a steal, he can get you that when he's healthy. But I mean, other than those two, I don't even know who's going to get the minutes on a night-to-night basis. So it's really hard to figure out who to even stream on this team.
Yeah, I don't understand this coaching style. I don't understand this front office. I do think that they still hold the reins as worst franchise, slightly above the Bulls in those rankings, because I just don't think you can fix stupid. You can fix incompetency. You can fix nepotism like the Bulls, but I just don't think you can fix the amount, just the legacy of stupidity in Sacramento. It's sad.
They got some fun young players too, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Honestly, I wish the best for the Kings. I have a special place in my heart for those old J. Will Kings back in the day with C. Webb, Vlade Divac, Peja. Great team. Got screwed out of quite a few playoff games against the Lakers. everybody go back and watch that. What was that game? Was that game 6? Where Kobe like shot like 25 free throws?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he elbowed Doug Christie in the face, and they called a foul on Doug Christie's face. So
your face shouldn't have been there, bro.
Yeah, you know what? His face should have been. It couldn't happen to a better person. But I think that is it for tonight, Tyler. Where can people tweet at you?
You can tweet at me at Watsy4444.
And you can tweet at me at Watch the Boxes. If you guys have feedback for the show, any topics you want to hear, or just questions about your fantasy team that you might want us to answer, feel free to tweet at us and do us a huge favor. If you like the show, go out, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to this show. We would really, really appreciate it. It helps people find the show, or tell a friend, tell a family member, and just tell someone who's in your league. That also works. Those people might be interested in a fantasy basketball podcast. And if you like doing daily, try a new type of daily. Go to draft.com. Check it out. Use the promo code BOXES. It's a different way to play daily sports. And like I said, if you're good at fantasy basketball, you're drafting every single day. You got a new draft every day. And I think people who are good at fantasy are going to be better at draft than they are those other daily fantasy sports. So use the promo code BOXES. Get a free game when you sign up. I think that's it, Tyler. You got anything else?
No, that's it, man.
Perfect. We will see you all soon. Thanks for joining us, everybody.